Hi, my name is Anna George, and I will be doing a review on the lumbar plexus for Dr. Chandley's Human Anatomy class at East Tennessee State University.
Hi, my name is Anna George, and I'm doing a review on the lumbar plexus for Dr. Chandley's class at East Tennessee State University.
The lumbar plexus is a web of nerves that originates within the lumbar section of the vertebral column, and it arises from T12 all the way through L4. The main goal of the lumbar plexus is to innervate the lower extremities. The following nerves arise from the lumbar plexus: the iliohypogastric, iliolingual, genitofemoral, lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh, femoral, and the obturator nerve. The iliohypogastric nerve originates from L1, and in about 10% of people it gets contribution from T12. This nerve moves behind psoas major and in front of quadratus laborum, and it carries motor information to internal oblique as well as transversus abdominis. It also carries sensory information to the posterior gluteal and pubic region. Ilioinguinal is the second nerve off of the lumbar plexus, and it splits inferior to iliohypogastric. It contains the same spinal contributions as well, originating off of L1. It then passes underneath the inguinal ligament into the medial thigh compartment. It contains the same motor information as iliohypogastric, but differs in the type of sensory information that it carries. Its target is the upper medial thigh, and in men, the root of the penis and the anterior area of the scrotum. In females, it carries sensory information to the mons pubis and the labia majora. Genitofemoral is the third branch off of the lumbar plexus, containing spinal roots from L1 and L2. Genitofemoral tells us that we are trying to track our way to the medial genital area. When traveling to the lower extremities, it busts through psoas major, moving medially underneath the inguinal ligament. Then we are going to go to the femoral region, which is located on the thigh, right underneath the inguinal ligament. This gives sensory information to the anteromedial thigh. There's a motor component that only exists in males, and it goes to the cremasteric muscle, which is found within the spermatic cord connecting the testes to the body. Next, we have the lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh, and it originates from L2 and L3. The word cutaneous tells us that we have sensory information from the skin, and lateral tells us that we're going to the outside of the thigh. When leaving the spinal cord, it travels underneath genitofemoral and then travels laterally underneath the inguinal ligament. This is the only nerve in the lumbar plexus that contains only sensory information. The femoral nerve moves all the way to the anterior thigh, giving motor control, and it then gets sensory information from the skin on the anterior thigh and medial leg. The femoral nerve gets contributions from L2, L3, and L4. Along its track, it gives a nerve branch that splits to innervate iliacus. It then passes underneath the inguinal ligament to reach the lower extremity. Finally, the obturator nerve is comprised of L2, L3, and L4, just like femoral, but it is smaller in size. This nerve travels medially through the optic foramen into the medial thigh. This gives motor and sensory information to the medial thigh. Iliohypogastric, iliolingual, and genitofemoral, lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh, femoral, and obturator are the main nerves that comprise up make up the lumbar plexus. Their goals are to innervate the lower extremities, providing efferent, which is motor, and afferent, which is sensory information back to the nervous system. All of the nerves on here are generally produce motor and sensory information except lateral nerve of the thigh, the cutaneous lateral nerve of the thigh, letting you know that it's cutaneous, which is sensory information from the skin. To begin drawing the lumbar plexus, we need to draw 6 lines. We will now label these T12, L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5, as these are the main spinal roots. To begin, first draw arrows on the first 5 spinal nerves. We will then draw combined parts for between L1 and L2 and L3 and L4. This is easy to remember because it's the 2 middle ones, skipping 1 each time. We will now join T12 and L1, and this will create iliohypogastric. Ilioinguinal then becomes the lower part of L1. Next, we join L2 and L3, and this provides us with lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. Remember, this is the only one out of the lumbar plexus that is sensory information only. To get the femoral nerve, we will connect L2, L3, and L4. Genitofemoral is the first one that combines off of L1 and L2 for our first extra little arrow we added. Now, giving way to obturator, we need to reach up and grab L2 to add to L3 and L4 to get our obturator nerve. Lumbar plexus neuralgia can occur, which produces numbness, tingling, or burning as an effect of a damaged nerve. This is typically caused by traumatic incident but usually doesn't occur as a common occurrence. Causes can include operations, injuries by blunt force, such as a car wreck or a sports injury, or stab wounds would also cause neuralgia. Operations can cause this as well. Depending upon what part of the lumbar plexus was affected and which nerves it involved, the symptoms would vary. Overall, you would see a weakness in your lower extremities because most of the nerves off of the lumbar plexus usually have combined spinal roots, so the effect on the sensory information will differ depending upon at what vertebral level the nerve was affected. For example, the iliohypogastric nerve would present with changes in sensory to the posterior, gluteal, and pubic regions. Genitofemoral would also decrease sensation in the skin of the upper thigh and genital branch in both the male and female. So it really just depends where the injury took place, and you have to look at the lumbar plexus to determine which nerves would be affected if an injury occurred at the specific place stated, such as if the injury occurred at L1, then it would affect the iliohypogastric and ilioinguinal nerves. Thank you so much for listening to my review on the lumbar plexus.